Hey guys, it's Ross with an Answers to Students video module. This is going to be quite a long one. I actually considered splitting this up into a couple of modules, then I reconsidered it. Joe S. wants to know how to elicit a girl's process for attraction and love. So remember, one thing I want to say before I get to the notes here. He got it right. It is a process. The idea being that any state, any set of feelings you want a woman to experience with you aren't mysteriously created by some butt-naked angel that shoots an arrow in her ass or some mysterious process called chemistry. There is in fact an internal subjective structure, something she feels flowing in her body, something she says to herself in a certain subjective location in her mind, something she visualizes. So what I want to give you here, Joe, are three basic concepts: elicit, evoke, and prime the pump. Whatever words we're going to use to describe the process, the idea is to have the woman experience the same flows of feeling, body sensation, the same kind of visual imagery, the same kind of sounds that lets her realize she's attracted, fascinated, and in love, or whatever state you want from her. You may not want love, you may just want horny desire. Here's a crucial understanding, as I said. Any states we want a woman to experience have a flow, a structure, a process. Think again in terms of a recipe. Recipe has ingredients. The ingredients have to be in the right proportion. They have to come in the right sequence. Without this understanding, speed seduction is just useless gibberish you're throwing at a wall. But if you get this understanding, then it becomes much easier to use any of the tools. So here's a sample algorithm. First of all, you want to bring the topic up. I like to use quotes. I like to quote something I've seen on TV, something I heard in a wacky seminar, something that I told somebody else, something that a friend of a friend told a friend who told me. This is the conversational framework that makes this whole topic more acceptable to bring up. Then we want to use this framework to use the signal recognition question. Signal recognition, we'll get to it in a moment. We also want to establish that it's of value to her to learn this, to contribute, to follow along with it. So here's the algorithm continued. You're going to lead her through that signal recognition process, which I'll show you, and link the feelings to you. You're going to make sure that throughout she's saying, "Oh, I really enjoy this. Yes, this is good. Show me more, please." Because you want to make sure she affirms for herself that it's something that she's participating in, something she's asking for, not something you're inflicting on her. If you want to, you can add in some pseudo-orientation and time pattern, which we'll get to, and then you add in suggestions to act on it. This is the basic algorithm. Now, I'm going to go through it word for word. I want you to get on the AMA board, strike that in the AMA calls, and do follow-ups in the end. Here we go. Here's the exact wording. The wording doesn't have to be exact, but this is how we set it up. You know, my friend told me he took this wacky seminar, and I don't know if I buy what he was saying, but speaking to you as someone who seems interested in learning about how things work, I just had to tell you about this. He talked about how men and women fall in love, and actually it's pretty interesting what he said. Now, what are we doing here? We're distancing back. We're talking about what a friend told you about what someone at a seminar told him. And then I threw in something that's not here in the notes. I said, speaking to you as someone who likes to learn about how things work. That's a little bit more of a distancing. Like, am I talking about myself? Am I talking about her? Who is the person who likes to learn? Don't have to add that in, but basically this wording is just to introduce it in the form of quotes and make it okay to talk about it. And now here we say, you know, I don't know if you're interested in this. It seemed kind of silly to me, but then when I did it, it made some sense. So what are we doing here? We're testing her interest in the topic. She jumps out and says, no, tell me, then we've got a good candidate. And if she doesn't, that's fine. We have thousands of things we can go to. Just let it go. So now we're going to continue with the quoting. He said, when you really fall for someone, when you see someone and you just feel, wow. Now, there's a little bit of a suggestion. When you see someone and you just feel, wow, it actually all starts with one flow of feeling. And everyone's different. But if you know what your flow is, then, you know, have you ever been really, really attracted to someone, but they just weren't right for you? Then again, you met someone who's right for you, but you just weren't really attracted to them? What are we doing here? Well, first of all, we're already getting some of the feelings flowing by bringing up examples and by the words we're using and by our intent and our gesture. But what are we doing here? We're introducing the idea that it's useful for her to cooperate with this because she's had the experience of feeling a strong attraction, but the person wasn't right for her. And then on the other hand, the person was right for you, but you didn't feel the attraction. What we're setting up here is that if she learns this and she does feel an attraction and it's right, she can turn the attraction up. And if the attraction's wrong, she can get control and turn it down. So we're offering her a benefit, a value, that if she learns this and cooperates, she'll be able to have more control and choice when it comes to being attracted to guys. That's pretty high value activity. Well, he said, everyone's different, but if you know your flow, then if the attraction's not appropriate, you can turn it down. But if it is appropriate, you can turn it way, way up. Just let yourself go for it, like you're looking through at this attraction. So what are we doing there? We're actually now beginning the process of anchoring it. I'm looking at my hand and saying, but if it is right, you can take this attraction and turn it up and up and up, like you're looking at your whole world through this. You know how wonderful that feels when you surrender and let go. I'm giving suggestions right there. Everything I do is a vehicle to deliver suggestions. But never mind, let's talk about cars and how strong and how much money I make. So I'm taking it away there just to fractionate the vibe. I don't want to keep it too serious. I want to take it away, fractionate, make her laugh. I also want to see, does she pull back on me? She goes, no, I want to see this. Show me more. Okay, so here's what he said, the guy said to ask yourself. When you're really, truly attracted to someone, when you just get that feeling inside that lets you know, wow, this could be on tonight. What's the first feeling you get on the inside? The first recognition or feeling that lets you know it's happening. Okay, so this is the signal recognition question. Now, I want you to note that earlier we primed the pump before by some of our hand movements and some of our suggestions. Now we're asking her to tune in to the first feeling that lets her know that this whole process is starting. Now, she may not know. If she doesn't know, then prime the pump by talking about your friend Jill. Well, for example, my friend Jill says that sometimes she's not sure, but then you look at a guy, you just see something that rivets your attention, and you feel that feeling that lets you know, wow, it's on. So you can prime the pump by talking about someone else's experience. And now you want to keep developing the flow. So you're going to say, good, then where does it go? And then where does it go? You want to get the flow of the feeling, because here's the thing, guys. Feelings that move and have a direction and shift and change are the ones that move women into action. If it just sits there, So you want to get her to feel the flow of it. And again, if she can't, then suggest it by talking about Jill's experience. Well, Jill feels little butterflies that tingle in her tummy. And as that warmth goes rushing up, she thinks inside how yummy. Her throat, it gets a little tight. Her face, it starts to flush. Possibility is so right, she tries hard not to blush. Little poem there. Okay, then you want to step back and say, are you enjoying this? Are you sure you want to learn this? Again, I want her to ratify and reach for it and confirm that it's what she really wants. I want her reaching for more, because when she reaches for more, it's a way of confirming for herself that this is really something great. You don't reach for more of something you don't like. Here's the next bit of exact wording. Now what you want to do is add a color to the good feeling. You say, now you probably couldn't imagine there's a color to those great feelings flowing inside. But if you could see the color right now, what would it be? Now here, guys, we're using synesthesia. We want her to add a color to the feeling, because that'll make it more real for her, and also it'll make it more easy for us to externalize, to pull out of her and link to ourselves. Now I want you to imagine that color and that feeling flowing into my hand. And notice, guys, I'm looking where I want her to look. So I want you to imagine that color and feeling of flowing into my hand, forming a ball of color. Breathe in, it gets bigger. Breathe out, it gets smaller. Breathe in, it gets bigger. Breathe out, it gets smaller. Breathe in, it gets bigger. Breathe out, it gets smaller. What are we doing? We're taking those flows of feeling and the color, we're externalizing it. We're taking it outside of her temporarily so we can take control of it. If it just stays in her body, that's good. You could still seduce her that way, but by bringing it out temporarily and turning it into sort of a symbol, now you've got control of it. Now I want you to look at the color, but pay attention to the feeling. Look at the color, but pay attention to the feeling. Notice if I pull it away, the feeling diminishes. But if I bring it closer, the feeling gets stronger, stronger, even stronger. See, now what we're doing is we're playing with it, taking it away and giving it back and building it stronger. We're increasing it. Now the really interesting thing is the guy said that when you really feel all this good feeling, building and building, it's like you can stop and you look through your world at this. What are we doing? We're now taking that good feeling, putting it in front of our face, so she's looking at us through that good feeling. Does that make sense? You know, I think it's the kind of thing, and then I'm going to take the good feeling, I'm going to do this, and put it on me, like this. You see? So I've externalized it, I've got her to look at me through it, and then I'm going to put it here on me. You know, I think it's the kind of thing that could cause a person to come over and over to one conclusion. There's a new direction you want to take, a new part you want to take on for yourself tonight. Get it? See, hear the sexual metaphor? There's a new direction you want to take, and a person can just realize it's on. You want to say it's on and a direction you want to take tonight so she doesn't go home and think about it. She jumps you. We're using a little bit of sexual metaphor, new direction, come over and over again to build those feelings, and then a suggestion that it's on. Okay, this is actually a lot easier than you might think. I want you to watch this module several times, write out by hand what the major steps are. Go out and try it. Even go, if you're concerned you're going to get caught, go to a town where no one knows who you are and try it there. Participate in the board, tell me what you think. Okay guys, RJ here. I want to do a supplemental recording because I realized as I looked at it, you could not see my hand. So hopefully you can see this now. It's hard to, I don't have a monitor here, but what I want to do is I'm going to look at my hand as I pull it away, and then as I move it towards her, I'm going to look at it again. I'm going to look where I want her to look. So I'll say as I pull it away, the feelings diminish, but as I move closer, the feeling gets stronger, stronger, even stronger. Almost like you could look through those feelings in an opportunity you know you want to date. Okay, so that's how it works. And then I'm going to just do this and place the feelings in me. I hope that nails it for you. It's hard for me because I don't have a monitor to show me what's showing up. Hey guys, it's RJ here with an Answers to Students video module for Zengrove. Interesting, these little names you guys come up with, your code names. His question is he has trouble when he attaches too much meaning to a chick. One of my rules for a long-standing time, I think I started teaching this in 1988, is never attach too much meaning to success with one woman. So here's a gold key personal change rule. When someone is stuck, look at the process. What is it that they're doing on the inside with how they language it, with their internal representations, with their metaphors, to keep themselves there. And then look for the leverage. Look for the element within the structure of that stuckness that's most easily changed or altered or modified or balanced or removed. So here are my questions for Zengrove that I would like for you, Zangi, to answer in the members forum. First of all, when do you attach too much meaning? Do you do it prior to even talking to the girl? So you develop a crush on a girl before you've even spoken to her. You do it after you've spoken to her, but you never really spent time with her. Do you do it after you've spent time with her, but prior to any physical contact? So you hung out, you feel close to her, but nothing's happened. Haven't made out, haven't fingered her, no BJs. Do you do it prior to fucking her? So you've hung out, you've had physical contact, but you haven't fucked. Or you do it after you fucked her. Okay, you've finally gotten laid, you're enjoying it, and now she's the one for you. Next, after when, is how do you do it? For example, do you impart or imagine qualities about her that she doesn't actually have? Do you project things onto her? Just because she's giving you some validation and some attention, maybe sex, do you then begin to build her up in your mind as some ideal person who, in fact, doesn't match what you're projecting onto her at all? Also, how do you deal with her in your imagination through time? Do you now imagine being with her for years, or introducing her to your family, or marrying her, or having kids with her, for Christ's sake? You would be surprised. You think, come on, I'm a guy. I don't think that way, but yes, many men do. This is the kind of autopilot thing that's casually running in the background. By the way, as you guys are watching this, you may find that this is some of your own patterns. Now, I have to ask myself when I look at a client, I think, what skill sets would nullify the problem? Granted everything going on internally, what are the skill sets that this person should have or could have, which if he had them and exercised them, would nullify the problem? It wouldn't be a problem at all. So it could be that all the stuff you're doing with her is simply a substitute for having some good skill sets, or skill sets that need to be improved. So this is what I would like to ask you. How are your skills at meeting women? Do you have really good skills at meeting women anytime, anywhere, as any girl? Do you have really good skills at getting physical with women? And do you have really good skills at fucking women? And finally, do you have really good skills in managing your emotions and your future projections once you are fucking women? These are the questions I need for you to answer, and then I'll answer you either next month or right on the discussion board. So get on the community discussion board and give me some answers. Hey students, it's Ross Jeffries here with an Answers to Students video module for Chris. And actually I think this is a topic that many of you could benefit from. It's getting rid of one-itis. For those of you who don't know, one-itis is an obsession with one girl, usually someone who's not even banging you, is in the case for Chris here. So let's get to it. Basically, and I don't want to go through the whole thing, Chris says he asked a girl on a date, which is his first mistake, and he, bought her dinner and flowers, all the stuff I tell him not to do. I don't know why students do the opposite of what I say to do and then expect to get a different result. Hello, Tazzleberry, what do you think about these silly people? My cat always bothers me when I'm on the computer. Go away. So he asked her out again, another mistake, and then she blew him off and rejected him. Now he wants to know, how can he get this chick off his mind? And can he bring it back to life? Can he change her feelings about him? What does he do? He's pretty confused. So one of the things I always say is don't hypnotize yourself into the girl. In a sense, you want to hypnotize the girl into you, although it's not formal hypnosis. But, it's not really, Chris, about changing the feelings of the girl. It's looking to see the process of how you create your feelings. How do you continue to reinforce this crush you've had on the girl? Remember, speed seduction isn't just about the language patterns that get women hot and juicy, although that's a big part of it. I want you to understand speed seduction is about a different way of looking at human behavior and human thought, human subjective experience. So you didn't just get these feelings for the girl, you created them as part of a process. Every time you dwell on the girl, every time you picture her, every time you try to figure out why it's not working or what you should do next with her, you're making her more important to you. You're cementing her place in her mind. You're making her the focus of your morning and afternoon and evening prayers, in a sense. You're putting all that worshipful energy towards her, making her so important. You're wanking to her, essentially you're become a cunt worshiper, and you're worshiping her cunt. You put her on this mental pedestal, and you're like, in a sense, trying to propitiate her for her favor. You become a worshiper. You've turned her into a false god, in a sense. So I want you to remember a key affirmation. You never know where you stand with a woman until you make that first serious physical pass. So you never take a woman as a serious prospect until after you've made love. I'll say it again. You never know where you truly stand with a woman until you make that first serious physical pass. So you don't consider a woman a serious prospect until after you've made love. Fucked her, if you want to say it that way. So let me give you a 10-step ritual or process to get rid of this chick who's been really claiming so much of your mental and emotional real estate. And I pointed out here in this slide that one thing that naturals never do is put so much importance on a girl. They sort of create a vacuum around them, so the girls are pulled to them. So step one, I want you to find someplace quiet and sit in a nice, comfortable chair. Make an image in your mind of this girl at her hottest. Maybe she's dressed super hot, she's powdering her lips, eager to go down on you. I want you to really, really bring an image of her strongly to your mind. Now, the next step is I want you to freeze the image. I want you to imagine, for example, you're holding a canister of liquid nitrogen, and you're spraying it on that image until it gets colder and colder, and it reaches absolute zero. One of the things I teach my students in my magic courses is make the actual physical gestures. So get up from your chair and actually mime out, act out, pantomime out that you're holding that liquid nitrogen and you're spraying that nozzle all over. I want you to see the image get colder and colder. You know, maybe a few ice cracks start to form. You're going to put it down to absolute zero. That's the place where all molecular motion stops. So now I want you to imagine that image, I want you to take that frozen image and sort of like push it with your hands. Don't actually touch it, your hands will freeze, but push it so it's like 3 feet in front of you. I want you to imagine you have a huge sledgehammer in your hands and swing it with all your might and shatter the image into 1,000 pieces, 1,000,000 pieces if you want. If the image comes back, keep shattering it, keep breaking it, or if a part of the image comes back, keep hitting it with that sledgehammer till the pieces shatter on the ground. And if it makes you feel better, stamp on the pieces so they grind into a fine powder. Number 5, step 5, you want to reclaim all that energy, all the enthusiasm that you sank into her, you want to take it back. So I want you to imagine that all of the focus and all of the energy and all the enthusiasm, all the worship you put into her, imagine it as sort of like a color or a sort of, I don't know, wispy kind of cloud of color that's contained or hovering around the broken pieces of the image laying on the ground. Step 6, stretch your arms out to your sides, you know, the Jesus posture. And to yourself, I want you to say, I now reclaim all the energy, all the enthusiasm that I invested in this person back for myself, cleansed and clean of any of their influence or association. So essentially what you're doing is you're taking everything you gave to her and you're taking it back, but you're stripping away any association to her. So all that raw focus and energy and attention, you're reclaiming. It's coming back to you. I want you to imagine that all that color and all the energy is flowing back into you. See it entering your body. Breathe deeply. I know this may seem new age and fruity, but sometimes that stuff works. Breathe deeply as you reclaim all that energy for yourself. Step 8, I want you to close it by pointing at the now empty, drained, shattered pieces of ice and glass. Laugh! Laugh hysterically. Step 9, go take a shower. Take a long walk. Do something to get the fuck out of it. Take a hike, a bike ride, a long drive. Get out of there. Step 10, most important, go out and sarge other girls. Do this ritual. What you can do is take the sound file from this and play it for yourself. So it'll tell you what instructions to do as you're doing the ritual. Okay, in this video module, I'm going to get into a little bit more about using the IU shift, because it's something I do frequently, and it's an example of what creates a little bit more receptivity to suggestions. It's another thing that builds that response potential, that openness to being seduced. So let me just make this a little bit bigger. And there is Tabitha annoying me. Usually Tabitha. The demonstration with Dorota, how we took some simple suggestions and we created, excuse me, we used the right theme and the right... And this is just a little bit of a clip before we get into the IU shift again, that a good pattern is going to use the right theme, the theme that intrigues women. It's going to present it through the format that women are receptive to. Format to build response potential. The theme actually is what do you find attractive in a man, but the format is really what got it going. The format of it being a game, right? And the conversational framework was simply how we introduced it. Hey, I saw this great game at a party. It's really fun. Let's play. Right?
Oh, sorry, Tabitha.
Now,
sorry,
I know some of you want to go back through some details, so let's take some... I want to talk a little bit more about that IU shift, so you guys get that. The way the IU shift works, let me give you the structure, and then we'll rehearse it. Please look up here, and I promise I will give you every opportunity to write notes. The way the IU shift works is you're changing the, to use jargon, the referential index.
Some NLP.
Here's what I mean. I'm going to explain away that in just a minute. What it means is the mind is following along, thinking that you're talking about yourself. And all of a sudden you switch, and her mind goes, who's he talking about? Is he talking about me? Is he talking about him, or is he talking about some unspecified third party? You're creating just a little bit of a pattern interrupt. So the pattern of the conversation is going along, it's going.
So one of the things that we can say, and this is part of the overall discussion of what creates receptivity to trance, what creates the desire to go into trance and to be seduced, is pattern interrupts. Any kind of interruption of the normal pattern of what people are expecting creates a window of suggestibility through which any kind of suggestions or any kind of commands can be slid in much more effectively.
Dot, 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 all of a sudden dash. There's a break. It's a pattern interrupt.
So if I'm going along talking about my experience, I find when I really listen carefully to a lecture and I go inside and I find the things that you find are really important to you. When I make that shift, I, suddenly to you, the mind goes, and then any suggestions I slide in become much more easily received.
Then you're going back to dot, dot, dot. So you're going along talking about yourself, and all of a sudden you're clear. You're talking about yourself. All of a sudden you introduce an ambiguity. You're uncertain. You're unclear. You're introducing a little bit of unclarity, uncertainty. And in that moment, you're creating a doorway for the suggestion to slide in. So when I say, I find when I really like someone, and I realize I find when I really like someone, and I realize I want to be with this person, I realize it's important that that person touch me in all the ways you want to be touched. It's like all of a sudden, I'm talking about me, all of a sudden I'm introducing you. And when I say you, it creates a gap for the suggestion, want to be touched, to slide in. Do you understand? It's creating that little spark gap for the thing to jump across, response potential, creating a gap in consciousness, creating a break in ordinary awareness. And inside of that break in ordinary awareness, you can embed the suggestions. Now look here, you don't have to do that. It's not the only way, but it's a powerful, easy way to do things. Does that make sense? So the structure is expectation, expectation, pattern, pattern, expectation, 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 interrupt it with something unclear, or uncertain, or ambiguous.
Now, there are many ways to generate pattern interrupts. One of the advantages of dealing with very, very beautiful women is at least we know what's common in their experience. Beautiful women commonly are approached by guys who are either assholes or beggars. Beautiful women are constantly complimented on their looks. So anything that we do that is different and that can get attention in a positive way constitutes a pattern interrupt. So if you don't compliment her, if you compliment her or imply a compliment rather than giving her a direct compliment, it creates that momentary gap through which responsiveness is built and any kind of suggestion can be slid through.
You're changing the referential index. You're talking about yourself and all of a sudden you're referring to them. Does this make sense? Yep. That's called the IU shift. And it's really powerful, but it's not necessary. You don't have to do that to use suggestions or commands, but it's one way that's really good. So that's how I demonstrate it.
When you see, the thing about speed seduction is you're combining all these tools. You're combining the power of your state. You're combining the power of challenging and screening her, the power of having a really confident and strong vibe and tonality, the power of offering a theme that's of interest to her, the power of sliding it in through a format that she responds to, the power of feeding back her nonverbal responses, as you've seen me do with Dorota. All these things work together to create a very combined, powerful effect. So we want to get good and versatile with all of the tool sets so we can combine them.
So I find when I really like someone, it allows me to realize that you really want to be touched. Blah, 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 blah. See? IU shift.
Could be anybody.
Could be anybody. And the mind isn't clear. So the unconscious mind searches for all the different meanings. It's really simple.
We could, on a deeper and more profound level, if we wanted to get into it, say that the unconscious mind is always searching for meanings all the time. It can't not do that. That's part of its job. It's part of how it processes. That being the case, it's useful to create the hunger to reach for more meaning in the people we want to influence and persuade and seduce, isn't it?
There's some other things I did with the twin brothers pattern.
I don't want to get any further into the twin brothers pattern. I use it so often as an example. I feel I'm kind of beating it to death, but let's see what you have to say about this. Let's see.
Okay, this is the fourth instructional video module for August 2009. As I record this, I'm getting ready to go to Europe in just a few short hours for 3 weeks. It's August 16th, and the questions you guys submitted either sucked or really all repeated each other. So I'm putting up a fourth instructional video module. If you ask more good questions, I may, while I'm in Europe, attempt to record and answer them. So this one is about when to get hypnotic with women. So let's get into it. By hypnotic, I mean speaking in a way with the tempo of my voice and the volume of my voice and the intent that I hold when I'm speaking like this shifts. And also by hypnotic, I mean doing more of the demonstrations like the blammo that require her to visualize, that require her to turn feelings into colors, that sort of thing. They're demonstrations that require a lot of her focus and attention, and that she comply as I tell her what to visualize and what to feel. So the question many people have asked is, well, Ross, how do I know when to do this? So let me give you some guidelines about when to do this in a sarge so it flows naturally. First of all, I should say, being that I'm a person of will, anything I do can be hypnotic because my will is such that people want to believe what I say and follow along. So let's view these things one at a time about what I mean about being hypnotic. Let's talk about shifting pace and tempo. So we'll get to when to do it, but let's go into detail about what I mean about hypnotic. When I shift my pace and tempo, one of the things that I'll begin to do is to insert pauses. Because when you insert pauses, that's a little bit too long, you create response potential. Response potential simply means that the person's focus and attention is becoming gradually more attuned to you. Also, when you shift pace and tempo in a certain way, it begins to entrain the person's attention and lock them into you. Now, one thing to understand about women is, for many women, I would say most women, whether they know it or not, being fascinated with a man, being fastened on, comes from the same root word, is part of their evidence strategy that lets them know they're really into a guy. So the fact that their attention is into you is very close or even overlapping with the idea that they're into you. So entraining attention is very important because, first of all, anything you put through that train of attention has more power, but also because the meaning unconsciously that women associate with having that experience. And also what I'll do is, when they're really getting deep, is to begin to pace my speaking with the rhythm of the breathing. And I'll even begin to demonstrate some of that breathing like that. Just a little bit. Now that's not necessary to do, that's really getting deep, because when you're doing that, you're actually almost consciously saying, you are now in my power, I have you. So I'd be careful about that last bit. Also, I shift volume. So if this is my normal tone, if this is my normal volume, I'll speak like here. It's not a huge shift from here to here, but it is a shift. All you need to do is shift about 20%. Unconsciously, that will begin to entrain attention. I'll shift my intent. My intent becomes more will-driven. Now, if you're into my magic stuff, you understand what I mean. But will simply means a strong focus that will not be denied. Will means a strong focus that will not be denied. In the unspoken messages, I'm in the lead. I'm taking you where I want to go. I'm doing it skillfully and powerfully. You're perfectly safe, although excited. You're mine and you're safe. Now again, that intent doesn't have to be overwhelming. I just need to inject maybe 5% of my intent mentally. I just imagine like 5% of my energy is flowing out from me. It can flow out from my throat, my heart, my head, my genitalia. It doesn't matter. It's subtle. You don't need to overpower or overwhelm. And then we'll do demos. What are demonstrations? Things like shifting a feeling to a color, having her visualize things. So now that I've gotten into what it means to be hypnotic, let me tell you when to do it. Generally speaking, I first want to see that a woman is hooked into me with some attention already, either because she's really interested in the theme that I've introduced. Let's say I'm talking about connections, and as I talk about connections and bring it up, I see her go like that, lean forward just a little bit. I see she's giving me good nonverbal responses already to the theme. Or if I ask her a certain question, I see that she really gets into her answer. She's really showing interest, attention, focus as she gives me her answer. And as she gives me her answer, she's giving me a lot of personal anchors, personal trance words, that sort of thing. I'm going to look for this sort of thing. The other thing I will look for is to see how she complies with my request. Let's say I'm going to play a little game with her. I'm going to say, let's play Thumb Wars. Does she eagerly give me her hand? How is she complying with her body language and her movements to the request I give her? Is she offering me compliance as part of the curiosity? So I also want to see, so basically what I'm telling you guys is I want to see some response of interest and strong attention before I start to begin to shift into the more hypnotic tempo, the more hypnotic intent, the more hypnotic finality, the more hypnotic demonstrations. So really this little instructional video module has been about what it means to be hypnotic, and then again the basic answer I'm giving you is when to do it. Again, to review for you, here's when I do it. I do it when she's showing strong interest in a question I've asked, in the theme I've brought up. She's showing strong focus and energy and enthusiasm in the verbal and nonverbal responses that she's giving me. And she's offering me compliance. She says, come here, come over here, sit here, give me your hand. If she's offering me compliance, I know it's time to get hypnotic. So I hope you enjoyed this. Please post your comments in the members area. And please keep asking me about this kind of thing, because this is what I love to teach. Thanks.
One of the things that makes speed seduction so interesting is that we have a profoundly different model, a radically different model of understanding women. Part of that model is the notion that women have different levels to their mind. So this video is part one of two parts. We'll publish the second part next month, September, that goes into my theory that women have different levels to their mind. And when you understand this, you can see when they're communicating from those aspects, levels of the mind that serve the seduction, and you can utilize that. And when they're not communicating from levels of mind that serve the seduction, when they're communicating from levels of mind that don't serve it, you can bypass it and shortcut that. So let's get right to it, and we'll publish part two next month.
Women, you ready? My map is that women have different levels or layers to their mind. This is only a map. Many of you have seen this before. I'm going to go through it quickly. It's only a map. May not be right. The first level of a woman's mind is what I call...
I hate my haircut there.
Joan Rivers. No, I'm kidding. Guys, get it done. Every adult human has this in modern society. What does get it done mean? This is where she thinks of all her tasks. I've got to get the car fixed. I've got to pick up the dog from the veterinarian. Got to go get my bikini wax. Whatever it is. This is where she keeps all the stuff that keeps her busy. That's not difficult to understand, is it? I would love verbal feedback from you guys. It feeds me. Yes or no? Yes, no, whatever. I'll take that. Social approval is the second layer. This is where she thinks, what would my friends think? What does the other girl in the nightclub think? What would mom think? Oprah says I should dress like a slut, but Ellen says I shouldn't. Judge Judy had a case where the guy did this. It's all the stuff that gets in there from the media and her peers and social pressure. And, you know, this is where the PUA stuff can work.
Just parenthetically, or just as a comment, this is really powerful. Here's an assignment for you. Sit in a Starbucks and listen to the songs for an hour that come on the sound system, and note what the basic message is about love and attraction, and hear the messages of helplessness. Baby, I can't live without you. Baby, baby, I can't stop thinking about you. We are conditioned in this society to really associate attachment and craving and helplessness and crazy behavior with the natural biological bonding and attraction that happens between the sexes. Don't underestimate this. Then the other assignment is go to your local supermarket, go to the magazine stand, and pick out some of the women's magazine, Cosmopolitan, whatever they are, and note the number of articles that deal with what it is that is supposed to make a man attractive to women. Don't think this programming doesn't get in, because it's pervasive and consistent and unchallenged. When programming is pervasive, meaning it appears in more than one format, it shows up not just in popular music, but in magazines, TV, movies. When it's consistent, meaning it's never stops, it's always going on. It doesn't just happen in bursts, but it's happening all the time. When it's pervasive, consistent, and it's unchallenged, meaning there's no dissenting voices, or very few dissenting voices or contradictory messages, then you've got a real powerful piece of social hypnotic programming. One of the other aspects of speed seduction is teaching you to the extent to which you are socially, hypnotically programmed to act against your own best interests when it comes to women, and your success in stepping up and claiming your power, your success with your women who please, satisfy, and delight you in every way now.
If, for example, you're dealing with women who live in nightclubs 6 nights out of the week, I think the PUA stuff, the pickup artist stuff, works by being the ultimate ass kissers. They actually tweak themselves to take on the lifestyle and the appearance that really does naturally appeal to girls who live in clubs 6 nights a week. They rearrange their psyche and their life to revolve around status and stimulation. I didn't say status and stimulation are bad, right? But that's everything to them. So they actually learn to tweak themselves to show up attractive to girls based on what girls think about in this part of their mind.
This is why I don't teach lifestyle, because mostly the lifestyle that's taught is the party club lifestyle. And many of you guys have lives, you have careers, you have family, you don't have time for that stuff, and or you see the destructiveness in it. To me, the ultimate lifestyle is deciding for yourself what you're going to believe, conducting yourself according to your code of conduct that does your best not to harm others and that enhances your life and other people. It doesn't mean how you dress or the popular crowd you hang out with. If you want to do that, there's nothing wrong with it. Just be aware of what you're doing.
To me, that's the ultimate ass kiss. The ultimate chopping off of your balls is to morph and twist yourself to fit someone else's sick lifestyle and actually take on that lifestyle. It's like if I wanted to date an Orthodox Jewish girl, I would actually like wear the hat and stop eating bacon and like go to synagogue all the time. It's just not worth it for the, you understand? Right? Or you wanted to bang that hot Amish model in Amish Monthly, so you became an Amish. You know, that's what they're doing.
Hot Amish models. I don't know what gets into me.
And it just looks cool on the outside to some people, and you can do a cool TV show. But how about Amish pickup artist? The Amish pickup artist, or the Orthodox Jewish pickup artist? That would be funny. The Scientology pickup artist. No, no, just kidding. Just kidding. Now, everything you hear in popular media that you see, most everything, is designed to get you to act according to these messages. Problem is they're all conflicting. Some shows hold up the jerk as the model you should follow. Some shows it's the nice guy who wins out. Some guys it's the powerful businessman, whatever it is.
Often in movies, you'll see a recurring theme, which is the jerk who suddenly turns into the begging, pleading nice guy when the girl doesn't respond or the girl breaks up with him. And then he turns into the supplicating, pleading nice guy, and somehow she magically decides, aw, she does love him, and they live miserably ever after. Check it, and you'll see that what I say is true.
It's got you chasing your tail. And guess what? There's a lot of conflicting messages here for women, too. Women have very mixed messages. Be very sexual. No. Hold out. Don't give it up on the first date. You understand? They have a lot of conflicting, mixed messages. I watched my ex-girlfriend, when she moved from Sweden, when she came here from Sweden, when she was 19, she was independent and proud and cocky and a spitfire.
I ruined
and over 2 years living in LA, watching American media constantly, I mean, they watch it in Sweden too, but it's all she saw. She turned into a self-doubting, do I look fat in this? Oh my God, what if he doesn't like me? Wreck. It just fucked up her self-esteem very badly. So I'm saying all these messages, you wouldn't believe it. I'll tell you, her roommate is even hotter. Her roommate is like 5'10". Like when you think of a Scandinavian, you think of these huge, like strapping big girls. She's 5'10", legs up to here, unbelievable, unbelievable natural, big boob, blue eyes, blonde hair. She is the most insecure girl. Some guy effed her and then didn't immediately return her text. She said, what do I do? What do I say? And she's trying to figure out, like, do I text him? And she said, I don't know. What are you telling me? You're not fucking me. I don't give advice to women who I'm not fucking. By the way, women will try to, if you're intelligent, when you show up intelligent and you really listen, don't fall into this trap. When you show up intelligent and you really listen, women will immediately go, he's going to be my advisor. They've tried to do this to me. Oh my God. I used to fall into it because I like helping people. I recently had some woman I know, she started to ask me a question. I said, wait, stop. You should know my policy.
I tell this story to illustrate the point that women like to slot men. They want to immediately put us into some category because they don't like the uncertainty and the anxiety that comes with having to be patient and not quite knowing where a guy fits. Ironically, however, when they can't figure out where a guy fits, they're attracted to him. See the confusion of the female mind. I love them. I really love women. You can't go without them and you can't buy one.
Is I don't give advice to women because women don't fuck guys who advise them. She went like this. I said, so tell you what, I'm not going to give you advice. I will share a life situation with you. I will share a life experience, but this is not advice. She went, okay. So I found a way to enjoy being smart and helping out and still not get slotted into that category. Women slot men. Write this down. Women slot men. Women don't want to go through the anxiety of trying to figure out what role we're going to play in their lives, so they, as soon as possible, try to stick us into a role. If you show up really intelligent and you listen and you give advice, she's not going to fuck you because she's not going to want to risk
unless you're
losing
really
an advisor.
great looking.
You're like her psychic friend who doesn't charge anything. Shit, even Miss Cleo had the brains to charge $3 a minute, right? First 30 seconds free.
Miss Cleo was, we used to have it here in, I don't know if you're in the United States or not watching this, we used to have these psychic hotlines, only $3 for the first minute.
Darling, call me. Remember Miss Cleo? No one?
Miss Cleo is now doing 3 to 5 years in a federal penitentiary for wire and phone fraud.
Liars. Okay? So you can steal that from me. Say, you know what? I'm sorry, I don't give advice to women because women don't fuck guys who advise them. I will share a life experience with you. And then make up a life experience that answers your question. Social approval, right? The third one is what I call illusion of choice.
This is where you get the autopilot responses, guys. Like, I have a boyfriend, or I'm
Or
really
habit.
attracted to this kind of guy, etc., etc.
You ever hear a woman say, well, have you ever known women who always date a certain type, surfers, businessmen, rock and rollers? They tend to select the same guy, just a different face. You ever known women like this? I need verbal feedback. Anybody? Yes. You know any women like that? Maybe? Could be. Okay, illusion of choice. This is, you know you're getting a response from this when you hear her say things like, well, I only date so-and-so, or I'm really attracted only to surfers, or I really like whatever. This is the illusion of choice. It's just what she's gotten used to. She's dug that emotional groove, so it has momentum. It's got emotional momentum and some cognitive inertia there. Women. You ready?
I think, and I know, a big piece of growing into power and maturity and strength and choice with women is not buying into these autopilot responses. Certainly not as being your truth, but also not as even being her truth. It's just something that's coming up because it always has before. It doesn't mean that that's got to be the truth between you. And certainly it's not your truth. Learning to hold your ground and claim for yourself where you want to go in the interaction, or just being willing to walk, is really powerful. And for many of us who grew up with, you know, I don't like to say the word weak fathers, but fathers who are not dominant in the relationship, we're used to seeing that being modeled for us at very impressionable ages over and over and over again. So it takes some consciousness and grounding into yourself and some awareness and will and creativity and training to get past that, but you will. All right, let's hear your commentary.
Hello, Coaching Club members. Once again, it's Ross Jeffries, your master, expert, teacher, coach, guide, mentor, and seduction guru. Welcome back to yet another Answers to Students video module for 2009. This is for Brent C. Brent asks a very good question, so let's get right to it. Brent's question is about how to work social settings. How do you warm up a room so you're not seen as a predator? And he put something else in here. He quotes a study that says that women know within 2 minutes whether they're going to sleep with you or not. He wants to know if that's true or not. So basically, he has two parts to his question. How do you act in a social setting when you first meet women so their interest is just kept in you? And also, is this just pop culture advice, this idea that women know within 2 minutes if they're going to sleep with a guy? Very good. So let's get right to it. Let's review. Let's define our terms. What do we mean in this context by social setting? In this context, in the context that Brent presents his question, what we mean is a bar or a club or a similar kind of meat market environment. So bars, clubs, that sort of thing. Now, he's referring to an earlier module. And in that module, I said that you ought to open the entire room. That the first hour or half an hour when you're working a club or a bar or a similar environment is to be friendly with everyone. You're going to set aside picking up women in any way for the first half an hour to an hour. And take on the mindset, if you want to think in terms of sets, and I don't, that's a misery method thing, but you want to get the idea that the world is your set. So I, generally speaking, have this response. Whenever pop culture tells me something, pop psychology, when I hear something on Oprah, I don't watch Oprah, but you know what I'm talking about, I almost always assume it's either totally wrong or a gross, dramatic misstatement of the actual scientific study. So in my mind, pop psychology, pop culture is stupidity equals dumbass brainwashing. So does a woman know within 2 minutes if she's going to bang you? And my response is, well, how does a woman know that she feels anything for a guy? Since we as speed seducers want to look deep into the process level of how women move their way through the emotional world, how does a woman know? When a woman says, for example, I feel attracted to him, how does she know that? Not what are her reasons, oh, he's good looking, I like the way he touches me. Those are reasons why. I'm talking about the how. If a woman says, I'm not attracted to you, how does she know? You see, this is looking for process, not content. Here's a gold master key understanding. There's that gold, that corny gold coloring again. Speed seduction is first and foremost not about what you say or how you act. I'm not saying those things don't matter, they do. But first and foremost, it's about a different way of looking at women. Different way of understanding how do women create their internal subjective emotional states. What are the processes that drive the emotional states, that create the emotional states? What are the building blocks internally of the emotional states that drive the behaviors that we want from them? You have to get this understanding or the rest of speed seduction becomes mumbo jumbo. So always look for the process, not the reasons. So now we have in speed seduction the SRT question, the signal recognition technology question, which is when you really feel a deep attraction for a guy, whatever it is that you can feel it happen inside. By the way, you see the embedded commands? Feel a deep attraction, feel it happen inside. What's the first signal you get inside? The first flow of feeling inside that lets you know you really want this guy. So I want you to ask a better question. Not how should I act to get women to notice me, or how should I act in a social setting, but instead, what do I train myself to notice? So having said all of that, and reminded you again of the bedrock foundation, fundamental questions that we ask as speed seducers and what we pay attention to as speed seducers, here are my answers. First of all, sure, I think it's likely, almost certain, that some women will feel some kind of subjective flow of feeling that they label as attraction or click or connection or even knowing I'm going to sleep with this guy. Some women will feel that flow of feeling within minutes or even seconds of meeting a guy. I don't doubt that. I don't doubt they're going to have some flow of feeling. Now, whether they label that attraction or intrigue or I know I want him, I don't know. But I'm sure some, if not many women feel that. However, that does not equate to or equal to her sleeping with a guy or even winding up doing anything with him. If that were the case, that any time a woman feels any attraction for a guy, she'd wind up fucking him. And we know that's not true. If for no other reason the guys blow it, or women just don't feel enough attraction or something gets in the way. So the fact that she's feeling some kind of desire or interest or attention doesn't mean that that's a sign that she's absolutely going to sleep with the guy. This is a little bit tricky. Point number 3. Here's the thing. Women will not sleep with a guy unless they do feel something like that flow of feelings. You hear what I'm saying? Just because she does feel those flow of feelings isn't sufficient to get her to sleep with you. However, feeling that flow of feelings probably is necessary. It does have to be there for the fucking to happen. But it being there is not sufficient by itself for the fucking to happen. So probably when they do fuck with a guy, they look back at it and they conclude, because they felt that flow of feelings, looking back in their past, they look back and they realize, oh, I felt that flow of feelings for the guy. That means I knew I was going to fuck him. It must be the case because I just fucked him. You understand? It's a little bit convoluted, but this is a convoluted process that women go through. Here's the most important point. Don't fucking worry about it. Don't worry about it. Because with speed seduction, you can easily create the flows of feeling, the internal processes, the internal imagery, all the things that allow a woman to convince herself that she must fuck you. I will say this, if I had a nickel for every woman who told me right prior to her sleeping with me that she wasn't attracted to me, I'd be rich. And come to think of it, I am rich. And I sometimes tell women that. If occasionally I get, I just want you to know nothing's going to happen. I've said that in the past, and I always get laid when I do. I've said, well, if I had a nickel for every woman who'd said something almost identical to that, just minutes or hours before she fucked my brains out, I'd be rich. Come to think of it, I am rich. Now, there's another point I want to make here. And it's a point I didn't make in the slides, but I want to make the point to you, Brent, and to everyone watching this. It's a key point. We as men tend to take this response of being attracted to a woman and aroused and filled with desire, and it's on right now. It's ready. We're ready to go right now. We tend to take those states and I'll clump them together into one big ball of lust. So when we see a super hot looking girl, we don't need to go through a chain of, oh, I'm interested, oh, I'm attracted, oh, I feel desire, oh, I feel arousal, oh, now I'm ready. We tend to either clump them all simultaneously into one thing, or they happen so quickly in sequence, for all intents and purposes, they may as well all happen simultaneously. Women are different. Just because a woman's feeling arousal doesn't necessarily mean she's feeling, let me back up. Just because a woman's feeling interested doesn't mean she's feeling attracted. Just because she's feeling attracted doesn't necessarily mean she's feeling desire. Just because she's feeling desire doesn't necessarily mean she's feeling arousal. And just because she's feeling arousal doesn't mean she's feeling it's on right now. And oftentimes women will not only bounce back and forth between those states, they will insert a state of doubt or a state of hesitation or a state of whatever in between those things. So women tend to be able to compartmentalize, not just in terms of different levels of their consciousness, but they can compartmentalize their emotions. So part of being a master in understanding and handling women, not just in terms of the seduction, but throughout the relationship, is understanding that fundamental difference in how men and women, at least around this idea of sex and fucking, organize their emotions. I hope this is useful. Please give me your feedback. I love this job. Hi guys, it's RJ with yet another very interesting Answers to Students video module for April 2009. This one is for Eric from New York City, and it's a really interesting one, so let's get going right to it. And my cat Tazzleberry is in the room harassing me to play with her, so you may see her tail floating in the background. Eric's request. Eric wants to know how to get good at noticing things about her, how it's useful during a Sarge, when to use it in the Sarge, how to leverage the power gained by showing knowledge of her world, etc. Well, this is a long request, and I could go on for at least 3 or 4 modules about what I've come up with for Eric, but let's just keep it simple, and we'll deal with it as it comes. Great request. So first and foremost, we want to have the right state of mind to be doing these things. The right state of mind. Which means, number one, you've got to turn your lust way down. If you're boiling with lust or you're just desperate to win her over, it's going to get in the way of the information exchange. You'll be so noisy in your mind that you won't be able to notice the things that are going on right in front of your face. So we've got to be able to get into the right state. That means the lust is turned down, the mind is quiet, the body is physically in contact with your awareness. Rather, your awareness is physically in contact with your body. That means at all times you put at least 10-20% of your conscious awareness into the physical touch sensation of your body. I would say your feet in your shoes if you're standing, or if you're sitting down, the feeling of your butt pressing on the chair. Have some point of awareness on your physical body, something touching your physical body. I design in what I call a grounded, relaxed, playful, will-centered, will-focused, will-infused, relaxed self-awareness. That simply means that my focus and my intent are there. I understand that I'm going to evoke the responses I need and calmly move the person where I want them to go. This is a red letter warning. I seldom use red letters like this, so please hear this. Please note that for most of what we notice, we're not going to consciously, explicitly share it with them. We're going to utilize what we see, but we'll keep our mouth shut about noticing it. Just as an example, we'll get into this later in the module, but if you notice her self-anchor for lust is, you're not going to go, hey, did you know when you think of lust, you go, no, you're simply going to steal it and fire it off. You get it? So here's some things to notice and to look for. First and foremost, we're looking for 2 things, heat and comfort. Remember, throughout the transaction, we want her hot, turned on for us. We also want her comfortable with the interaction that she's having with us and with the feelings that she's having. You see? No heat, no desire, no sex. No comfort, no acting on desire, no sex. Bad outcome. So we want comfort and heat. Now, I also want you to look for states of absorption, fascination, and trance. So here's some signs that that's going on. She's looking only at you. She doesn't look away. And she seems to hang on every word. Her lower lip gets bigger. You'll see the lower lip get a little bigger and the pupils will dilate. Her breathing will become slower and more rhythmic. You may begin to notice that she begins to breathe with the rhythm of your speaking. She'll have rigid, unchanged posture. Many times when I used to, when I was sergeant girls, I'd see this. Their hand would be just like this, in the air like this. It would be cataleptic. In hypnosis, we call this catalepsy. I didn't give those suggestions. It's just a natural thing that happens when people begin to go into trance. Limbs will get rigid. So you'll find their limbs have not moved. The hands, the arms, the legs have not shifted at all in posture. Then you see, I don't know if I can do this on camera in a way, excuse me, where you can see this, but you'll see a very slight parting of the lips. It's like, I can't do this, but it's like a little miniature O forms between the upper and lower lip. I'll call it the mini O. And she'll do the eye scan. The eye scan is when she looks rapidly back and forth, from one eye to the other eye, from one eye to the other eye, from one eye to the other eye. She'll scan your eyes rapidly. Those are some signs, some things to notice that she is in trance. Look for signs of sexual arousal. This is where I can make a lot of jokes. I won't. If she starts saying the name Ross Jeffries, I promised I wouldn't, but I just did. The lower lip really starts to swell. The lip, mini O, gets bigger. You see nipple erection, doggy dinner bowl look. The defocused eyes like she just came, flushed face, mouth open. Her breathing will become more rapid. Sometimes she'll slouch suddenly or start moving her legs rapidly, back and forth. This is a really good one. Listen for her personal trance words. This is a key idea. Remember our model that women have different levels of consciousness. These personal trance words are vague words that have no strictly defined consensual meaning. For example, wheelbarrow. We all know what a wheelbarrow is. There may be some variations, but if I said wheelbarrow, you'd know what picture to point out in the dictionary. Well, Personal trance words are vague. They have no strict consensual meaning, such as karma, chemistry, excitement, escape, discovery. When women use these words, they're not referring to any strict dictionary definition. Rather, these words stand for a much deeper level of her mind and a much deeper and more profound level of excitement around certain flows of thoughts and feelings. Think of these words as icons on the desktop, that when she uses these trance words, whatever they are for her, trust, desire, connection, chemistry, click, these refer to a whole range of thoughts, a whole flow of thoughts, images, things she sees, flows of feeling, and behaviors that get triggered by all of that. So these, think of these personal trance words as ambassadors from the deeper levels of her mind. Welcome them with full honors into the conversation. And in other modules, I've gone into how to utilize these trance words, and I'll do this again in a future module. But for now, I just want you to begin to pick up on trance words. How do you know when she's using trance words? First of all, they're vague, but second, she'll lean on it. Like, oh, you know, it's when you really have that discovery and you get the green light that says, go for it. These are the kind of trance words I heard in a recent conversation with someone. You know this is referring to something that has deep personal inner meaning for them. Look for self-anchors. I've discussed this before. What is a self-anchor? A self-anchor can be a gesture, an expression, a sound, a look that a woman does at the start of a whole chain of thoughts and feelings. For example, if when she's thinking about sex, she goes, that's what she does. It's going to trigger all those sexual feelings and thoughts and imagery in her mind. Sometimes when they start to think about sex, they'll bite their lip, you see. Could be a sound and a facial expression as she thinks naughty thoughts. Use those self-anchors. Fire them back. Here's an advanced one. Watch her eye movements. When she thinks of something sexual. You know, if I said to a woman, you know, when you think about the absolutely best, you know, erotic experience of your life, how easily can you remember it? And when she looks over there to think about it, that's where she has her sexual thoughts. So if I'm talking to her, I'll say, you know, when you begin to have certain thoughts, and then I'll look in the same place she looks, and her eyes will look right over there. You'll see it happen. Her eyes will look where my eyes lead her, back to where her eyes go when she has sexual thoughts, and she'll start seeing them again. I have video. I got to dig it out of my archive of me doing this with a woman in my last seminar in Los Angeles. She knew what I was doing. She still couldn't resist it. Now, as far as noticing to demonstrate authority in the person's world, you can notice internal processing. I tell the story about walking into a cafe with a friend of mine who liked Asian women, and sure enough, sitting in the corner was a girl studying a big, thick math textbook, I think it was. And you could see her going, she's clearly talking to herself in her head. So when we sat down, I said, excuse me, can I ask you a favor? Could you please try not to think too loud? You look like a very loud thinker, and we have something important to discuss. So I paced her internal processing. You can notice how they process it. If you notice, they're highly visual. There's some women who can make imagery in their mind without looking to the left or the right. Their pupils just dilate. You can point that out. You can say, you know, there's something I noticed very interesting about how you do things. You make imagery in your mind very vividly. When you go inside and you feel the part of your mind that fantasizes, that dreams about what you really desire, when you feel that part of your mind waking up and activating now, when you look at the world through that and imagine something really amazing, you can do it with your eyes wide open. That's demonstrating your authority. You can notice the ongoing situation. Let's say you and she are both in a hurry. You can say, you know, I can see that you need to get out of here and I have to leave in a minute too. Pace the ongoing situation verbally. And then what I like to do is I use genuine intuition. I point things out about the person that I can see, about how she moves through the world, what's important to her in her world, what her values are, how she processes the world. Genuine intuition is a profound tool to do this. Okay, check those out, try them out, and let me know what you think.
Hey Elite Coaching Club members, it's Ross Jeffries here doing one of my favorite parts of my job, which is teaching. I can't tell you how much I look forward to this kind of communication with you students. And this is going to be an interesting Answers to Students video module for AIMS, November 2009. By the way, guys, your questions are starting to get better. Thank you. You're really going for it, and I appreciate it. Ames has a question about how to find out what he values in a woman. So as you can see, his post here, basically, he's talking about something that I brought up, which is screening for the right kind of woman is very important. To screen for the values that a woman will bring to you when you're in any kind of relating or relationship to her. And he asks in this post that he made on the discussion board for my coaching club members, how does he get a picture of the values that he would like to find in a girl? So let's get to my answer and see what I had to say. I make an important distinction between values and qualities. Values are the abstract labels that we give for what being with a girl would allow us to experience. So the values are not directly about the girl, but rather they're about what being with that kind of girl would bring to us. Here's some examples of some of what I value if I'm going to go longer than a couple of weeks with a girl. Trust, connection, mutual support, fun, passion, communication, expansion of our mutual possibilities, shared learning. These are the things that I value with anyone I'm going to go more than a few weeks with. Values are sort of like our personal trance words. For those of you who are new to the coaching program, personal trance words are those words that women use in response to our questions that have no actual well-defined dictionary meaning. Like if you say to a girl, when you really go on vacation and you really want to escape, what is it that you like to experience most? If she says jet skiing, that's not a personal trance word. But if she says the rush and the thrill that I get when I let go and jet ski, then rush, thrill, and let go are her personal trance words. So values are like our own personal trance words for us. And there's no clear, agreed-upon definition. One of my values for a relationship with a woman is communication, but what does that mean? Okay, it has no clear, defined meaning that everyone agrees to. For some people, communication is you don't need to say anything. People just know what you're thinking. For other people, communication is about directly stating what your truth is and the other person hearing it. So values are our own personal trance words. Qualities are something different. Qualities have to do with the woman's personality. It's those aspects of her personality and her thinking and her behavior that would most likely lead me to experience my values with her. Here are some examples from my own list. In addition to having a hot body, open-minded, eager to learn, sensual, passionate, funny, smart, has depth and multiple dimensions to her. Hot body, pretty face, giving, affectionate, crazy about me right away. These are the qualities in her behavior and her personality and her energy, if you want, that would enable me to experience those values with her that I listed previously. You see the distinction? Qualities are also abstract. Who can say what funny is? Well, funny is whatever makes you laugh, obviously, but who can say what depth and dimension means? They're a result of how she acts, thinks, feels, and also a part of who she is on a deeper level. So some of these qualities have to do with the way she behaves around you, but some of them are part of how she does life. If she has dimension and depth, chances are she approaches life with that dimension. She looks for the deeper meaning of things. She can see things that other people can't, not just in terms of relationship to you. So I hope I make this distinction really clear. And what I would say to you is find out what you like empirically. And by empirically, I mean you go out and test in the world. You have a lot of experiences. You know, you could do things like the Myers-Briggs personality test or all sorts of books that purport to tell you who's going to make you happy based on personality types. And some of them may have some validity, some may not. But my preference, especially for the students that I tend to attract, is that you go out in the world and with your actions see what works, see what diminishes you, see what enhances you, see what contracts you, see what expands you. Because I want you to develop an openness to learning that comes from your actions in the world as opposed to what you're doing in your head. Now, some amount of doing things in your head, tuning into your intuition, I'm all for it, I teach it. But I really want you to develop a ratio of thinking to action that heavily is weighted in favor of the action. On a more advanced level, you know, you can do ritual work, you can work with your dreams, you can have visions and revelations about what will make you happy. I believe in all this. I teach it in my Magic Psychic Influence course if you want to go to the website, seduction.com, click on products, and you'll see the Magic Psychic Influence course. I don't teach it directly anymore. I probably should do a seminar on it. But again, I want to encourage you to primarily do your learning through your doing. Do your learning through your doing as opposed to doing your learning through your thinking. I want you to think sufficient to give you enough understanding to act, but then go out and act in the world. Let the world actually teach you what your real limits and what your real abilities are, and you'll be surprised to find how much goes into the abilities category and how little goes into the limitations column. Now, for me personally, I've created a ritual for the values I'll share in my optimum trajectory relationship. So for me, I have a ritual that says, here are the values that I need to experience, claim to experience with a woman who's going to be my optimum trajectory relationship. And from there, I create an energetic map ritually of what that person would feel like. What qualities would she have to have? And what is the overall energetic map of that person so I can pick up on it? And contrary to what you may read in things like The Secret, this is not a specific image. I don't imagine the exact person. I think that's really crazy. It's creating attachment and all sorts of false meaning to anyone who accidentally may look like that. Or rather, this is talking like a contour. Let me give you a real illustration. It's more like this. What you see in this slide is a topographical map. It shows the overall geography and the layout of the land here. So it's more this than this. What you're seeing here is a specific road map. So when it comes to qualities that I want to experience in the person and the values it's going to bring me, it's far more like the previous slide than this one. Now, I test my approaches to look for a sense of humor, a sense of playfulness, an openness to new experience, and a response to my being somewhat commanding and just a bit subtly intrusive. So, for example, I will often say things to women that are funny, but also that test to see how she responds to something that's just a little bit unusual. One of the approaches I'm going to try is to sit next to a couple of women at a counter where they're having dinner and just say something funny to get their attention and say, so, the topic for tonight is non sequiturs, which is itself a non sequitur, just to see how they respond to it. So I'm testing for playfulness, flexibility, sense of humor, and then how does she respond to my being somewhat commanding and just subtly intrusive? So for example, when I go to meet women, when I shake their hand, I hold their hand just a second or two longer than men normally would and look right in their eyes. And I want to see, does she hold back? Does she subtly squeeze back, or does she pull away? These are the kind of things that I test for. But I know to test for these things because I know the values that I want to experience, and those values I want to experience inform me of the qualities I want to look for, and the qualities I want to test for, it tells me what approaches to do. You see what I'm saying? So it's a very strategic approach and a tactical approach. It's strategic in the sense that I understand the values I'm looking for, the qualities that would produce those, and based on that, I tailor my approach to bring that about. I really enjoyed teaching this particular module. Please keep up the great questions. This is what makes me extra happy to be your teacher. And again, if you want a product recommendation, check out the Magic Psychic Influence course. But for now, just practice without doing